All right, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are. Concerned Citizen of South Sudan is on. We welcome our viewers all over the world. Again, I'm Jongkor Mayol. Love to have you today. It is November 17, 2018, Friday. So today we have a guest, Dr. Hakim Dario, the leader of PDM, People Democratic Movement. It will be joining us momentarily. We will be talking about the peace building and trust. We are so interested talking about this topic today. So I welcome you one more time. I know that you tune in all the time, every Friday to our program. I really appreciate it for being part of this. I welcome you all. Marhaban bikum maratan ukhra fi Concerned Citizen of South Sudan live this Friday, Juma 17 of November 2018. ورحب بكم مرة أخرى. Let's go to work. Let's go and do the job. So we'll be waiting for Hakim Dario to come in and then we can start our discussion. Thank you so much one more time for being part of this. Let me go ahead and play some song while we are waiting for him to appear. So مواضيع كثيرة جدا جدا of course بعد الضيف بعد كده نحن هنستمع لآراء بتاعكم perspective will be really valued, so please stick with us. I know I see that. What is that, 16? No, of course 16 is still. So it's good to have you all. That's it as usual. Let me play Muhammad Wardi Shua here as we are waiting for Hakim Darius. I know I love to bring the old stuff. They are good. So Dr. Hakim Darius, if you are there, let's go ahead and push that green button. I think we went through training yesterday. We shouldn't have any problem tonight. So welcome all of you. Welcome Sister Tong. Welcome Adut. Welcome everybody. Good to have you. Let's go and get the energy. So one more time, I wanted to reiterate this. I wanted to repeat this. We don't tolerate any insults. Unfortunately, last week, someone was insulting, my guest Suzanne Jambo, but I was not paying attention enough to see that. I would have removed them right away. So I have to go back and filter it after the show was over. But today I'll be watching closely. So insults is not our culture. No one deserves to be insulted. We can agree to disagree. That's fine. You can disagree with me. That's fine. You can disagree with my guest. That's okay. But do not participate in any insult whatsoever. So I'll be taking action actually. Okay, let's go and start this thing. I'm waiting for you, Dr. Hakim Dario. If you are here, go ahead and push that button. أهلا بك يا ياك. Good to see you. Yeah, he's a great singer. Thank you. Thank you. Let us keep this energy, you know, keep going until the end of the show. So I'm still waiting for Dr. Hakim Dario. Please, if you are there, tune in so we can start this thing. What are you talking about? Playing SPLA music? What? This is civil. We have to be doing civil stuff. I know SPLA is army. Why do we have to play an army song in a civil discussion, Mr. Awad? Even the SPLA, they were playing, you know, on their radio, Muhammad Wardi, right? So Dr. Hakim Dario, if you are there, please go ahead and send in a request because we don't want to spend more time waiting. I like to start on time. It's so important to do this on time. What are you talking about, Rami? Hello, Brother Nyok, how are you? And everybody in Salt Lake City. Say hi to everybody. All right, is that the case? I'm going to go ahead and start calling you guys, you know, while we are waiting for Dr. Hakim Dario, because we don't want, you know, kill more time, you know, playing music. So if someone is ready, just go ahead and, you know, send me your request. I can bring you in, and then we're going to start, you know, waiting for him, because we don't want to spend more time, you know, waiting. I saw you requested. I'm going to go ahead and bring you in now while we are waiting for, you know, Dr. Hakim Dario. So,
hey, Yazul.
I'm doing good. How are you? Good to see you.
Why don't you play, you know,
well, we are discussing civil. This is a civil discussion.
I know. I'm just kidding, man. I'm just kidding.
I know. But so now.
So what's up, brother?
I am doing great. So you read the topic there today. What? I'm still waiting for my guest, but if you wanted to add your perspective at this moment to that topic, you can go ahead and do that while we are waiting for him. Because
Yeah, I might not be. The topic is not visible, but I believe you were gonna talk to this guy about
so it's not visible.
about
Okay.
about peace.
Mhm.
So Jongkor, first of all, you were doing excellent work, my brother. I really appreciate what you've been doing.
Thank you.
Even if I don't get it, just keep what you're doing. You are excellent, brother. You are very
So I
courageous.
went ahead and pinned the topic there, so you don't have to have problem. You can be able to see the guests and the topic as well. So continue.
Yeah, yeah, peace building. This guy has a party, and I'm sure his party, has to energize now. He has to build momentum, relationship between his party and the people that he will bring in.
Mm-hmm.
So which is good. Also about the peace, I'm sure the peace is inging. The peace is working as we speak.
Mm-hmm.
It might not be 100%, but we have to build on it. Nothing just came from his credit. People have to struggle.
Correct.
We have to we have to face the reality. We have to accept that we have lost life.
Mm-hmm.
So it's time to to cope with all this stress.
Yes.
And take ourselves out of this mess. By accepting that yes, mistake has been committed, but what else can we do? It is good that we have to move beyond all this sadness, and tears, in our eye every day. And that's why I said to play the SPLA music, because it remind us about the danger. The danger was so severe, and that, my brother. You and I, we came from very, we face a lot of threat from the radicals, Mujahideen, Nazal Numeri, Lil Sargal Mahdi, Lil
Mm-hmm.
Suradab, Lil Bashir. And in fact, Bashir was one of the guys that the Yongan feared a lot when he took over the power. That the Yongan admit that the guy was coming to power. It is very dangerous, and we might face challenges
If
because
Bashir was very dangerous to SPLA, SPLM, then why now are we hugging him? Why that?
what well, what do we have? He signed a peace with us, and Bashir also is facing his economy. The deterioration. He has economic issue.
Mm-hmm.
And so now it seems like they have the same problem and we have the same issue.
Mm.
So it is good that maybe by bringing this peace, in fact, by my brother, this peace was brought by Bashir
Mm.
with iron, with the iron fist. He was using his muscle, his bunyad
Mm-hmm.
so we have it now, and also we need to accept that our anger has driven us into a confrontation. This, Jongkor, do
Thank
you
you,
believe this
thank you,
war?
Mujasi, for calling him. Thank you. Yeah, go ahead.
This war, brother Jongkor, it was a useless war. It was a useless war that we shouldn't even have tried. But you know what?
Mm-hmm.
If we go back to to the tarif da harka shabiye, but ma قبل السلام 2002 بعد ما مشى رجع لجي شعبي ويصابوا فيه وشال طبعا ونيجا منصب بتاعه جاب مشى دكتور يونغران استشهد. الجيش بتاع مشار ما عمل استياف للجيش الشعب القديم. He has his own army. بعد ما الجروج بقى حلو والسلطة والنجدة كل يوم والسلاح فيه والنسوان وانا ما اعرف. and الجماعة دول they forget التاريخ ده حركة الشعب ذاته والنظام.
Good. We are not talking about the history today. We are talking about the peace building and trust. So how do you think we can achieve that? How we can build this peace, momentum around it? You said there is a momentum. And then how can we build trust among South Sudanese to know that this is the real and we are going to get along? This is the topic of today.
I think this peace will be built and it will be more stronger than what we had previously.
Why do you think so?
Because these brothers, they are sick and tired of fighting. They have lost a lot of, and their time is limited. The international community is in their tails. If they cannot stand with this peace, their life, they would be put into departure very soon. So they have to support this peace. At the same time, the money laundering, the crime, the mafia, the triads are involving in our continent. And so Sudan in particular is very old. الدول الوحيدة المستهدفة حاليا. it is metal kalam al galo zol kumal sakin jamu kumal fil island galo the world might lose 30 million people with an unknown disease. Kalam da zaad ba manasma kalam da. And when we look at South Sudan, that
Hello.
we are dying from the kidney, liver, pancreas, and all these unknown
Again,
diseases.
don't divert yourself from the topic. I want you to.
No, I'm coming. That's what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying. This also is part of the peace peace. If we can acknowledge that we have a threat of diseases, and then this peace will be viable. We have to prioritize between death of millions of people and death of individuals. So that means Salamda it will stand. The good news is that there is no two army. It will be one army. The rest of the army within the next 8 months will become one army. At the same time, we need to support a police. The police must be trained. If you become police, at least you have to have a high school degree, high school diploma, and we have to be taught how the law works. You know how you're going to be able to interact with the public, with the civil population. You know, so that those who are police cannot rush, and use their muscles against individuals, civilians, for no reasons. So, with that, I'm sure if this government is willing to take us to the next chapter, so we don't brutalize ourselves once again, they have to support a police training. They have to hire from all background of both Gabel or youth. High school diploma has been the at least high school is a minimum, qualification, and the rest, bachelor, associate, masters, PhDs. We have to support a police institution, my brother. If we support police institution and we have to teach the Al Qanun, we will have a stronger South Sudan, because without law and order, my friend, this peace is meaningless. It's meaningless. There should be a law and order, because finance, ya brother, finance موجودين في أولنا. الناس دول عايزين يستخدموا القبلية عشان يكونوا موجودين في الأماكن المهمة، يكون ناس معروفين. كلام ده يا brother, we must dismember it. أنا قاعد أقول شنو جونكور، السلام عشان نكون كويس عايزين we need البرلمان the strong parliament، مش parliament بتاع منيان قاعدة، عايزين parliament بتاع الوعي.
What do you mean, Manyankai? Can you tell our viewers?
في ناس قاعدين في برلمان brother, they don't want to think. في meeting قول يا زول you have to say something. كشي منيانكاي لوين. There's no more منيانكاي.
Can you tell the viewers, because they wanted to know what are you talking about here?
Because our parliament has failed us. The parliament has failed us. So we need a strong parliament, members who are elected by their constituencies. Azol bijibu based on his qualification and knowledge. Mu zol bijibu gal zol indu karsha, gal zol indu jaimu wala sultan, kalam de shilo bara. Zaizi Junub Sudan yakun Junub al-Gawi, we have to hire based on the qualification and experience and believe that we are human. Nene bashar. Zaman lekada ya brother, Junub de Malian bikul resources. All these resources we all will have a private jet. كل يكون عنده طائرة خاصة. بل ما أجانب يستفيدوا ونحن تعبانين. يعني هسه مويه بتاعنا we are supplied by all water by the foreigners. عايزين مويه تانيل الشعب يجيب يستفيد. تستعمل في يوم تشرب لك مويه، تعمل لك تسجل لك your hours بالنجيل كويس، عشان نعيش كويس. وده يكون يعني شعب فاهم. نعمل البلد يكون قوي. If we don't do that, my friend, within the next 20 years, generation extinction, diseases. As a Halian to God, as a man by Gal Pandao Walaida, Gal keep number 4.
Yeah, keep continuing.
Number 4, I'll watch it. So, also, I want the government of South Sudan and those who are coming to share this government, please support anything below science, as in science, as in medication. We need to bring a medication industry. Deal ma dollar Cuba. They give 100 doctors from Cuba, and we have to open a medical school for the 10 years, plan. Even if we pay a doctor $10,000 a month for the next 10 years, so we can be able to understand the diseases that are killing us and the source where they came from, who brought this, because some of the diseases they came from some other sources. We need to understand all those. We need to support our country, medically. If we are strong medically and there is food available, we can sustain. We can be able to defeat the test of our time. Or brother, the most important that we have to put in our mind, we must discredit the Gabriel. Legislation to criminalize high gulo Gabriel. If the America they are Jongkor, and Namal Salam, one day the election it is all types, it is all an Afkar Hilu. Taban Afkar Marat and we can have differences. Marat, we have difference with you, but your message it can get across. It is called awareness. So I want you also to speak on the disease that are killing our people. Now we have no center for liver. There's no center for kidney. There's no center for pancreas. Even this control substance, the drug under government control. Mafi junub zata. الموضوع كم يتاي للدواء ممكن يقدر يعني بنفسه ودواء ما في. So yeah, my brother, السلام عليكم نقول يا أخوان الجنوبيين الأمر السلام يا جماعة, let us try to stand with this peace. زي عندك كرهيل يا أخو ولا وقتل كلام ده شيله برا.
You know what is peace? If we define peace لما الناس يكونوا قاعدين من غير مشاكل. Peace إنه أنت لو أيام تزعلك. Peace إنه مثلا لو زول شاكل معك القانون بديك حقك. Peace is combination of all these things, and that's why we keep hammering and hammering and hammering all these years. That's we need peace. لأن peace اللي احنا دايرين ده لو في زول جناو واحد من لو توقف for innocent جناو بيمشي school هو mechanic or he's a carpenter, and someone in a will the same thing is working as a nurse جناو بيمشي school and they are functioning. That's peace. أو لو في زول يعتدى عليه.
Yes.
That's the peace that we want,
I agree with my Arabia, Jongkor. I agree with 100%. I agree with my brother 100%. Peace is acknowledged. We have to acknowledge that we are human. If you want to be treated very nicely, someone else want the same treatment. If you want to eat a good food, someone else want to eat a good food.
Correct.
If you want to drive a good car, another person want to drive a good car. But why do you want to eat all the chicken, all the red meat, all the goodies? You don't want other person to do the same thing. That is called selfishness and greed.
I'm gonna let you go, my brother, because now it looked like my guest is already here. So let me go ahead and bring him, and please stick around, and we may give you a chance later if you are available here.
Oh, thank you, man. Hey, man, I appreciate. Keep doing what you're doing.
No problem. I really appreciate you for coming on today. Let me go ahead and bring in my guest here.
Thank you.
All right, I welcome you all again one more time, for joining us on this Friday, November 17, 2018. Our guest is Hakim Dario, the leader of PDM, People Democratic Movement. I believe he's here right now. I'm going to go ahead and bring him in so he can interact with all of us and have a fruitful discussion. Let me go ahead and bring him. All right. So I'm calling you right now, Dr. Hakim. Go ahead and answer that request so we can start this discussion. Hello. Welcome to Concerned Citizen of South Sudan, Dr. Hakim Dario.
Hello. Thank you. Thank you for hosting me. I'm sorry that I run a little bit late.
I know sometimes, the technology too can play a role here. So now, Dr. Hakim Dario, you are a leader of PDM, People Democratic Movement. One more time, I welcome you to Concerned Citizen of South Sudan. This is a forum for all South Sudanese from all political affiliation, backgrounds. We don't discriminate here. We come here and react. You as a leader of a political party. Now, I want you to tell us a little bit about PDM that you are in charge of, leader of PDM, and to put our viewers, on a right way before we start this interview. The floor is yours.
First of all, thank you very much for hosting me once again. I would like to appreciate and commend the efforts of Concerned South Sudanese, and particularly this show for creating a platform to host freedom of expression and to promote dialogue on issues of public interest to the people of South Sudan. and I'm very pleased and honored to be hosted by your show. And I also want to take this opportunity to appreciate all the viewers who may be interested to listen and share in our discussions today. But perhaps it's only in order that I take the opportunity to introduce myself and then introduce PDM. My name is Hakim Dario, and I'm the leader of the People's Democratic Movement. It's abbreviated PDM. PDM was founded back in 2016 in the diaspora by many South Sudanese who were at home back in South Sudan, and also those who are in the diaspora. We're very concerned about the developments that were taking place in the country. One of the key motivators for us having to come and work together as a team to promote the political views of PDM was the result of disappointment in the return of the country to war in 2016. Because we're all hopeful that the then signed agreement was going to be implemented to create a political space for the country to pick itself up and for the people as well to participate in the political process and address the issues and agendas of reform. But unfortunately, the political leaders in South Sudan decided to choose war instead of peaceful settlement of their differences. And that's what triggered us to get involved in terms of organizing ourselves politically. So that's where PDM originated. But as many of you might have followed the activities of PDM, we are a people-centric political organization. We put the people first, and we have come to realize that the existing political organizations in the country, particularly the SPLM, SPLA, has lost its way, and that's a subject that we'll return to. So that's perhaps briefly what I can say about PDM.
All right. Thank you so much for that brief introduction as well. So my understanding that you were part of security agreement for the peace, and yet you were not in final draft that led to Khartoum peace agreement. What is the problem? Why are you not part of that?
Well, thank you for raising the question. I think it's very important to bear in mind that when all the political organizations, opposition groups that were invited to the high-level revitalization forum, they were invited with the intention to engage in peaceful negotiations and in very constructive engagements with each other in order to arrive at a comprehensive solution to the problems and crises that the country was facing. And that requires that people commit themselves to peace, to peaceful means of dialogue. After all, we're not going for war in the high-level revitalization forum. So it was very important that all the political organizations signed up to cessation of hostilities in order to demonstrate good faith and to address the core issues at conflict. So that was a very, very important consideration for PDM to sign up as a party to the negotiation and through commitment to cessation of hostilities by all the parties to the high-level revitalization forum.
So particularly what prevented you, so recently you made a statement that there are a fundamental structural deficit within that peace agreement. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, I think there is quite a number of issues to highlight before answering that question. As you might have followed, the high-level revitalization forum, as it says, was actually intended to be a platform for revitalizing the failed agreement, the antecedent agreement that was signed in 2015. So I think the focus primarily was to revitalize that agreement. And so to bring back the parties to that agreement after having instigated another war in 2016, for these parties to come together and try to revitalize the agreement and implement it. Now, there was one particularly important and fundamental flaw with that, because the political situation in the country has changed. There were many political organizations that were formed, and also the agenda was very narrow in terms of just focusing and looking at the revitalization of the RCs. What the country needed was a more broad-based political process that is inclusive, that is not just focused on the two political organizations, the SPLM, SPLA in government and in opposition. Because as you can see, for instance, the agreement was signed as a power sharing between SPLM factions. So in 2015, it was simply, a power sharing agreement for the political elites in SPLM, SPLA, both in the government and in the opposition. The rest of the country didn't matter. What mattered was the SPLM, SPLA factions. Yet, it was these same SPLA factions which brought the war to the country. They created the situation that our people are suffering from. And so the power was still, shared between them, and they wanted to go back to sharing power again for a second time. So I think that wasn't the right process, and so there was advocacy to include other political views and shades of opinion in this process, because the country does not belong to SPLM, it doesn't belong to REACT, it doesn't belong to Salva Kiir, and so the peace agreement, the peace process should include all shades of opinion in the country. And so we wanted to change the agenda of the peace negotiations. Instead of focusing on power sharing between IO and in government, we wanted it to be more focused on sharing power between the people. Because so far, the elites shared power, and they fought among themselves and created another civil war in the country. So the fundamental approach that should have been taken by the IGAD with the support of the people of South Sudan was that, okay, stop here, let's not share power between the elites. Let's share power between the people of South Sudan, because it's the people of South Sudan who do not want to go to war. They are the ones who are suffering the brunt of the war. And they are the more legitimate to share power among themselves, not the SPLM, SPLA factions. So that was our fundamental approach, that the agenda should be changed. And there are fundamental root causes underlying this conflict that should be addressed. And that is our position. We tried to articulate that position, and we went to the high-level revitalization forum to articulate this different point of view, and not necessarily to go there and go with everybody else, talk about power sharing between the elites. No, we wanted to bring the agenda of the people to the political process.
Thank you, Dr. Hakim. As I, recall now from your talking, you said that there were some political views were not represented on that peace agreement. We have wide range of people here watching. Some people, they may not, understand the political terms sometimes, and that's why I want you to speak frank to them. Clear. What are these political views that you have that were not, accepted? Or were not, reflected on that political views? You can mix them, in Arabic and English. So A, B, and C, we wanted to know exactly what are those.
Thank you. Perhaps it's very good to for instance remind the people that when the war broke out in 2013 in Juba, and there were battles fought in various places in various parts of South Sudan. The main issue here was that there was a power struggle within the SPLM. The political bureau was divided down the middle. There was a group of the SPLM leaders, others called themselves former detainees now, and there was, of course, the faction that supported Riek Machar. So the SPLM elites did not resolve these issues through peaceful.
Okay. Sorry, we lost him. somebody might have called him. Go ahead, you know, and send us a request back, Dr. Hakim. So we'll be waiting for you. Go ahead and send a request back. Look like we have lost you here. I'm gonna go ahead and try and bring you back. I apologize to our viewers for the inconvenience. Just go ahead and send it back, and then we'll bring you back live. I apologize, Jamal. Go ahead and send it in, Dr. Hakim. We are still waiting for our guest to log back in. It looked like something happened to his device and that dropped him from the live show. So I'm trying to add you right now, Dr. Hakim. Go ahead and answer that.
Hello?
All right.
Yep.
Good to have you
Yeah.
back.
Sorry, I lost the connection there.
Okay.
I'll try to be brief again on the point that I was trying to explain. I think the key issue here is that the leaders in the SPLM failed to resolve the political crisis in their own party through peaceful means. There was no need whatsoever to not contain the military confrontation that took place in Juba. That could have been isolated if the leaders were wise. The situation could have not been taken out of control, but the SPLM, SPLA leader and the president of the country, Salva Kiir, failed to act responsibly. He should have risen above any resort to conflict. And this issue would have been resolved politically. It could have even been days. He should have held back. And all these killings that took place in Juba was needless. And so this is what triggered the conflict. It became, a confrontation that was tribal, and this resulted in the, murders of innocent citizens, innocent lives, loss of thousands of people for no reason, for political reasons in which they did not have any responsibility. And so this is the background. So the world, the international community was quite shocked that South Sudan could descend into this senseless civil war. And so even some of the countries in the region felt that it was their responsibility to intervene and to try to bring the two factions of the SPLM back together so that they can power share, they can share power, and then maybe return the country back to peace. And that's what the access agreement was all intended to achieve. So it was signed, and there was hope that the country was going to return to peace. And then all of a sudden again it flared up. And that's where things have started to go down, the drain since. And this is where there was now need again for people to go back and say, hey, what has gone wrong? Can we sit back? Can we sit down and look at the root causes of this conflict? And why did we fail to implement the agreement that was signed in 2015? So there was outcry on the part of the international community, on the part of the people that, this war has got to be resolved. The parties to the conflict has got to come back to the table, to the negotiating table, and try to address the root causes of the problem. The SPLM, SPLA, IO was talking about revitalization, and I think they were very selfish in the sense that IO wanted to own the agenda, that it is they are the heroes, they are the ones who will bring peace in South Sudan. They do not want to look at it as now this is a countrywide issue. And therefore, what we have got is the result of that. Now we have a power sharing agreement, again, between Riek and Salva Kiir. Salva Kiir as president and Riek Machar as vice president, simply because there are also vested interests of other IGAD countries that impose the solution that we have today in South Sudan. So the peace process that we have has never been people inclusive. It has not included the people of South Sudan in all their different tribes. There are 64 tribes in South Sudan. But the access agreement that has been signed, it looks like it's a Nuer and Dinka agreement because it was signed by Riek, it was signed by Salva Kiir. The majority of the people who signed the agreement were either Dinka or Nuer, as if Dinka and Nuer are the only people who are there in South Sudan. No, it's not like that. So, but the point I'm trying to say here is that, the peace process should be inclusive. It should be an issue for the whole country, not an issue between Riek and Salva Kiir. And now the solution that we have is that Riek is a vice president. He got back his job as first vice president, and Salva Kiir retained his position as vice president. They don't deserve it.
Dr. Hakim,
I'm
sorry to interrupt you. So
Yep.
if I may go back to our question here, because I was asking when you said the views, some other political views were not represented in that peace agreement. So I want to remind you, what are these views? Because some South Sudanese actually they are not aware what PDM, what other political organizations have presented on that peace agreement were not accepted. So they wanted to know. We want to engage them to understand. Maybe you can go ahead with that.
Exactly. Thank you very much for bringing me back on course. The position of PDM with respect to all of this can be summarized in very few points. What we want is a strong federal system of government in South Sudan. A federal system of federal government that actually gives power back to the people. That does not concentrate power in the hands of the elites in Juba. Does not concentrate power in the hands of SPLM. It should be a system of governance that, for instance, we have written recently a statement that we want during the transitional period, there should be a federal system of government based on 3 states, based on the Equatoria, Upper Nile, and Bahr el Ghazal provinces of South Sudan, the autonomous regions that stood as of the 1st of January 1956, which we inherited from the colonial administration, the British colonial administration, and also during the United Sudan. This arrangement would be easier for us to distribute power on the basis of 3 regions. And this is also the formula which is actually currently, on many occasions, usually people refer to, that we should have representation of the 3 regions. So what we want to say is that the power should be given to the people in the region. For instance, the people of Upper Nile as a region, the people of Equatoria as a region, the people of Bahr el Ghazal as a region, should share in power on the basis of 33%, like, 1/3 of each, one third, of power is shared for each region. In that way, you remove decision making and you give it to the people in the region. The people in the region would have a federal system of government based on, say, for instance, the election of their own governor, and the governor would not be impeached by, the governor would not be, appointed by the president, will not be appointed by the president. The governor of Equatoria, the governor of Upper Nile, the governor of Bahr el Ghazal will be elected by the people of that region. And he will be accountable directly to the people of that region without the president interfering in their appointment or in their dismissal. But what we have today is the opposite, the centralization of power in the hands of the president in South Sudan. So that is what we mean by a strong federal system of government. And this is doable. It's a social contract that many people in South Sudan call for, even before the independence of South Sudan. We called for a federal system as South Sudanese during the United Sudan. We were not given that promise. Later on, we gain a self-government rule. And even within the self-government rule that we obtained in the 1970s, 1972 agreement, the three regions emerge as the basis of a power sharing. There used to be very good and competitive relationships, football, sports between Upper Nile, Bahr al Ghazal, and Juba and Equatoria and so on. So there was no issue. There was always no issue. We inherited 3 provinces. We inherited with it 21 districts in South Sudan, and those districts never suffered any problems of borders. They did not have problems and issues of borders. But today we have 32 states, which have been decreed by an illegal presidential decree. And as a result, we still have conflict in our country. President Salva Kiir doesn't have a mandate. He doesn't have a mandate to issue a presidential decree to divide South Sudan into 32 states. But it is because this is the rule of the Jain Council of Elders. And I want to remind people of 1 or 2 things. Back in the 1972, after the Addis Ababa Agreement, Abel Aller brought the notion of born to rule. And this is something which later on became like, the Dinkas are born to rule. Other communities in South Sudan rejected that. And Abel Aller and his leadership failed to unite South Sudan because of his policies of tribalism. And that later led on to Kokora, to redivision, which was basically an administrative decentralization. Now, Salva Kiir is bringing back the rule of the Jain Council of Elders, just exactly like Abel Aller did. And the country is in chaos. So what we want to say is that we want to have a federal system of government in which the people of Upper Nile will elect their own regional executive, regional president, or you call it president of the High Executive Council of Upper Nile, the president of High Executive Council of Equatoria, the president of High Executive Council of Bahr al Ghazal, or called governor of Bahr al Ghazal, governor of Equatoria, and so on, but elected directly by the people and cannot be impeached by the president. Now you live in the US. You have a federal system in the US, right? Yeah. Does the president fire the governors in the states? No.
Yeah.
So that is in simple terms what PDM was calling for. And it is something that is doable. It will not cost us a lot of money. If you have 10 states, you have 10 governors, and each state would have 10 ministers. Multiply this by 10, you have got 100 ministers in South Sudan. Why would we want to have such a huge government? In the transitional period, if we have 3 states, a simple government, 1 governor in each state, and then you also have a lean government. And this is for the purposes of the transitional period for 3 years to prepare the country for elections. We would also have a rotational presidency system where you can have a presidential council with representatives from each region, 1 from Upper Nile, 1 from Bahr al Ghazal, 1 from Equatoria, and they share power equally. What's wrong with that?
Okay.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Now,
thank you.
Now, I have to interject a question here, Dr. Hakim. So now, many people, you call for a 3 region lately, and now you spoke about it. Don't you think it can lead us, it can pave a way for another cockerel, in terms, dividing this into 3 regions? Or why would you think a 3 region will be more, people are going to build trust than 32 region or 28 region? What's unique about, the 3 region? We have 3 region before, and we have the issue of Kokora, we have problem. So what's going to prevent the same scenario from happening?
Yeah, but the issue is that Kokora wasn't a problem. Kokora wasn't an issue. The issue was the politicians who wanted to promote tribalism, who wanted to stay in power. And people wanted to have a measure of independence. They want to take power into their own hands. Okay? For instance, if we bring someone who calls for a Dinka unity, becomes the president, and then it starts to discriminate against other communities in South Sudan, okay? And then if you oppose such a system, such concentration of power in the hands of such a person, And then, is that a bad thing? Opposing it is not a bad thing. Instead, people wanted to have autonomy to be able to decide on issues of their governance, on issues of their existence. That is the basis and principle of democracy. But you cannot label that as being negative, as being divisive. No, this is brainwashing by the politicians, saying that it is something bad. Now, we have 32 states. We have even before that, we have 10. Why? Is that not Kokora? It's Kokora, isn't it?
Yeah, and I oppose that.
It's the same.
And I oppose 28. I oppose 32, and that's why I'm saying that what make what you suggest 3 region different than 32 than 28. What make it unique, and why you think that it's not gonna bring the same the conflict that we have in 80s?
No, the conflict that we had in the 80s was the result of tribalism. The concentration of power in tribal elites who wanted to rule with impunity. What we are saying is that if you bring 3 states during the transitional period, because we want to go through a process of having a federal system of governance. But what is important is that instead of going for a huge government, we have to simplify that. Instead of having 10 states, 32 states, and a huge bureaucracy, number of ministers, number of governors, number of cars, and all of that, we just simplify this and say, look, let's be modest. Have 3 states based on the former autonomous regions of South Sudan that we inherited. And the borders of those regions are known. The districts are known. The governance units are known. So why not adopt this simpler method to enable us, first of all, go back and try to sit together and say, look, let's now think seriously. How many number of states do we want for South Sudan? If we want to increase the number of states from 3 to 4 to 5, it will have to be as a result of consultation with the people. The people will be the one driving that, not Salva Kiir sitting in Juba and decreeing presidential decrees to divide the country as he wishes and consults no one. Okay, so this measure of, say, having 3 regions during the transition period would enable people of each region, first of all, say, if we have a transition period of 3 years, then we would have a regional assembly, we would have a regional governor, and let the people consult. All the ethnicities within Upper Nile, for instance, would sit together and have a fair representative system of government to administer themselves for the next 3 years and prepare for elections. The people of Equatoria will do the same. The people of Upper Nile will do the same. And then, in the course of that also, we go through a constitution-making process.
Okay.
It is within the constitution-making process that will come to decide on the number of states, viable states that we can have in South Sudan.
Now, Dr. Hakim, arguing from financial perspective, I understand, I get it. I can side with you on that from financial perspective, that we don't have a lot of money, because if we spend money on 32 states or 28 states, we're not going to have any money for development. But would you be okay with the 10 states instead of 3 regions? Because actually 3 regions, I don't get it. I still don't get it. Would you be okay with 10 states in South Sudan?
10 states. I think this is an issue. 10 states will be subject to the constitution-making process.
Correct.
If the constitution-making process, people come and agree that we should have 10 states, then that's fine. I don't have an issue as long as these states have powers as federal governments that are not impeachable by the president, that are responsible for their own decision-making.
Okay.
That's very, very important.
Yes. And the reason,
but that has to come through a legitimate process.
Yes.
Because even these 10 states that we have, we didn't have a say in it. We inherited it from Bashir.
Correct.
We as South Sudanese, as sovereign people, we have not decided how many number of states we want to have. We haven't. So we should go back to the drawing table and try to come up with a system of governance in which we can define how many states we would have. What social contract do we need to have for a new country that is promising a better future for all, rather than spending time in wars? Thanks.
Thank you. Actually, I have another question, but before I go to question, the reason I kind of refrain myself from the 3 region It reminds us to the old bitterness days. We don't want people, to be divided on regional line. I don't like tribal line. I don't like regional line, because we are the young generation. We need to be together. That's why I'm saying that 10 years. 10 is it. How about that? How is it going to work? Now, my next question, Dr. Hakim. If the government pivot the way, right, if they allow all the political parties to campaign in South Sudan without any intimidation, and then would you be able to go back home and sell your ideas based on what government proposed? Would you do that?
Which government? Salva Kiir's government?
The current government, yes.
The current government is illegitimate. The current government is illegitimate. It's led by a corrupt leader who makes, dictatorial decisions, who consults no one. He consults only the Jain Council of Elders. And Riek is joining him because Riek wants power. Riek wants to be the vice president. You see, these people want to maintain themselves in power through wars, serial wars, so that they can sign agreements, and the agreements will be for them to stay in power. What we are saying is that these people do not deserve, they have no legitimacy to rule. And therefore, it is the people who should really now take the front seat. And that's why we're proposing that the three regional approach will give the people of Upper Nile, Bahr al-Ghazal, Equatoria, the opportunity to decide away from the interference of these leaders. Because these leaders, actually, they need to go and seek the mandate of the people. SPLM has failed. If SPLM has failed, why do we keep it in power? It is an imposition by IGAD. It is an imposition by elites. It's a power sharing between the elites. It's not the people who are sharing power. It is SAWA elites, IG elites, IO elites. These are the people who are going to share power. They are not going to sit over, our country to corrupt as they want, without accountability. They don't have legitimacy. The people should reject them. The people should not cooperate with them. They should resign. Kiir should resign. Riek should resign. The country cannot be held a hostage to Riek or to Salva Kiir. The people come first. The people are sovereign. So what is the reason these two gentlemen do not want to cede power to the people? So I do not recognize that this is a legitimate government.
So that means
it's an imposition by IGAD.
I'm sorry, Dr. Hakim. So that means actually, as long as Kiir in power, Riek Machar, PDM will not be willing to go home even though if they said there is conducive environment now for all political parties to participate, to campaign and sell their ideas to ordinary citizens of South Sudan.
These people have failed to stop corruption in South Sudan. Why am I going to trust them? All the leaders of SPLM, you have heard stories in the media, in Kenya, profiteering, the Sentry, and all of that. They have damning evidence that these people are corrupt. How many billions of dollars have been wasted in South Sudan? So how many merchants of oil in South Sudan? How many contracts are awarded just to personal friends and so on? Who are the beneficiaries? The families of those people who are in power. Why should I put my trust and future in the hands of corrupt leaders? What guarantees can they offer to me and to the country? Nothing. They have lost legitimacy. They don't have any legitimacy. What they should do is to negotiate themselves out of power. Unless people believe that the power actually belongs to them, it doesn't belong to Kiir, it doesn't belong to Riek, there will be no change in this country. The power does not belong to them.
Right. Thank you. But Dr. Hakim, in politics, don't you see, negotiation is all about, give and take, compromise in order to get out from this mess that we are in? Should we just, everybody stick to their agenda, or do we really need to compromise to rescue the country from the way it's heading?
Of course, you can that's why there's always a peace process.
Mm-hmm.
A peace process doesn't mean that you have to compromise over the issues of the interests of the people and the future and interests of the country. Okay, in stability, sustainability of its peace, and so on. Those are the crucial issues. What you do is you go to the negotiating table, you put the issues that really matter to the people, and then you can see who is objecting to that. And that is the enemy of peace. We are prepared, we are ready to go to a peace process to discuss issues that will take South Sudan forward. Issues that will address corruption, impunity, and hold every politician accountable. And give power back to the people, give them their human rights, allow freedom of expression. As you have seen in my brief, I worked for over 9 to 10 years as a secretary of AMDIS, leading media legislation in South Sudan until the media bills were passed. But guess who opposed it? Makui, and Makui is still in power. Who opposed it? Salva Kiir, who has said nothing about the killing of journalists in South Sudan, is gagging the media in South Sudan. So why should I trust my future in his hands? Why should you trust your future in his hands? They should negotiate themselves out of power. And I think that's the message that the people of South Sudan need to get. Unless you organize yourselves, and that's where we're proposing a broad-based coalition of South Sudanese across Equatorial, Upper Nile, and Bahr el-Ghazal. We are all against corruption. We are incentivized to bring corruption down. We need to have a National Alliance for Democracy and Freedom Action. And we call it NADAFA. NADAFA of the country from corruption, from impunity. And if you look at the SPLM, SPLA, it started very well. It brought us up to a point. We now have a free country. And then guess what? The layers that are put on top of SPLM, instead of putting justice, freedom, equality, they put what? Corruption, impunity, bigotry, tribalism, Gen Council of Elders, and so on. And the list grows, you know? That is what is layering on top of SPLM, SPLA. There's no leadership. There's no vision for the country. Salva Kiir should admit that. He is a failure. He's a disgrace to our country. In spite of all of his struggle during the Anyanya, his contributions and so on. That is the legacy that he should have left to the country. But no. He wants the country to be in mess, and that's where we are. We should reject that. The country belongs to the people.
Now, yes. Now, Dr. Hakim, I have another question here. We are not done yet. So now, IO and the leadership of Riek Machar, after the signed peace deal with the government and others, and Lamakol, Bokasoro, Dr. Riek Machar now is trying to reach out to those who are not part of peace deal. Would you be able to accept any initiative from IO or the government to become part of this?
Like I said earlier on, any peace process which is fair, which is addressing itself to issues that are at the core of the conflict, the root causes of the conflict in South Sudan, we welcome that. We welcome the idea of returning to a negotiated peace process, which would actually move this country forward. Now, this is what we're suggesting. Yes, the revitalized armistice was signed, but we think it is a flawed agreement. It's imposed by Sudan and Uganda. It's infringing on the sovereignty of South Sudan, on the oil resources of our country, and so on and so forth. The list goes on. What should happen is this. This peace does not include a component for the people. It is a peace agreement for the elites. You can count the elites. Bakasoro, Lam, Johnson, Riak, Salva Kiir, and so on, Waniga, and so on. These are 5 vice presidents. Okay, so this is an agreement for the elites. It's not an agreement for the people of South Sudan. What we need to do is to revisit, reopen the archives to make it a people-centric agreement, which puts people first. And that way, we can have a way forward. But what you see is that Riek is hasty to have the peace implemented so that he can get back to his position as first vice president. And he went to Juba to celebrate the so-called peace, to show himself as a hero to South Sudan, that I'm a hero, I am speaking peace, I bring peace to you, right? And he was actually well-spoken compared to Salva Kiir, who is unable to express himself. And what happened is that Riek Machar is taking the opportunity to tell the country that I am bringing you the peace. I ran out from Juba here and you know how I went. Now I've come back. I'm a peace hero. Guess what? This peace was negotiated by Museveni and Khartoum. It wasn't negotiated by Riek. So Riek is just part of a tool of the trade, of the regional powers.
Hello. It looked like somebody called Dr. Hakim Dario. Let me see if he's back again so we can continue our discussion here. Hopefully we'll be okay. Can we go ahead and call him back? So Dr. Hakim, go ahead and call me back. I know somebody might have called you, but just send in a request back so we can finish. I have a few more for you. We are still waiting for Dr. Hakim to log in back and send in a request so we can finalize it. And then after that, it will be open for all of you to contribute as well. Still waiting for you, Dr. Hakim. I don't know what happened. I'm still waiting. Hopefully we'll come back so we can finish it up. And then I will open floor for all of you. I don't know, you ran out of battery or what happened. I don't know. Okay, I saw your request, guys. Let me go ahead and start bringing you. If my guests come back, I can just excuse you, and then we continue. So I saw your request. Actually, Suleiman, you requested it early. Let me go ahead and bring you, and then we continue until our guest is back, and then from there we bring in back. So I'm calling you now, Suleiman. Go ahead and respect. أهلا وسهلا Suleiman Dendera. الضيف بتاعي look like maybe بطارية ما شغال ولا something happened, so we lost him. So please go ahead and very brief. I'll give you a few minutes and we move on. Yeah. تفضل.
انا بس داير احييك لانه انا اول مره اشوف طبعا دكتور حكيم. انا داير احيي الناس الحضور كلهم، وداير احييك انك انت جبت الدكتور حكيم. احنا سمعناه لان انا ما شفته قبل كده، من المفارقات يعني. طول الوقت ده كله في حياتي انا ما شفته، اول مره اشوفه واول مره اسمع افكاره. وده حاجه كويس انه نسمع بعض يعني. ده حاجه كويسه الناس تسمع بعض وتفهم انه الناس بتفكر كيف. انا كنت داير اكمل عشان نسمعه للاخر، بعد ذاك احنا نعلق على حاجاته، لانه ما داير اعلق على حاجات في النص كده، لانه
خلاص
مهم نسمع رايه. مهم نسمع رايه ونديه فرصته، لانه بالمناسبه احنا دايرين نعمل سلام في الجنوب. لو ما ادينا كل زول فرصه يقول كلامه والناس تسمع كلامه، والسبب اللي هو ذاته زعلان او حاجه اللي ما عاجبه شنو، ما بينفع. بعدين انا وصلت لقناعه يا جنكور، الجنوب ده ذاته ما بينفع كلنا نكون في سلام، لابد في ناس يكونوا قاعدين في معارضه عشان يساعدونا بعدين، عشان يورونا الاخطاء وين. فخلينا نسمع الدكتور، وعلى الاقل بعد ما ينتهي انا داير فرصه، لانه انا قاعد اسجل حاجات كثير انا داير اعلق عليه. شكرا لك.
انا بجيبك
دائما انت قاعد تعمل لنا خدمات كويس. شكرا، مع السلامه.
خير ان شاء الله. Thank you. Let me, Suleiman, go ahead and hang on there, and I'm still waiting for my guest, Dr. Hakim Dario. Please log back in so we can proceed. Hopefully you are around there. Let me see what happened. And see here what's going on. I'm still waiting for Dr. Hakim to log back in, and then we proceed. Dr. Hakim, can you log back in? Go ahead and do not disturb on your phone. So when you are back, yeah. So we are still waiting for you. Go ahead and log back in. Okay. So he's gonna be back. I just call him through WhatsApp. So let's wait for him here. Meanwhile, معلش يا جماعة أنا آسف يعني we apologize for inconvenience. I will again, I will give you. Just let's be patient and be okay. Still waiting for Dr. Hakim, so please go ahead and log in. let me go ahead and while we are waiting, let me bring somebody, to make their point, and then we'll move on. Okay, I went ahead and called you a book, and then if my guest is back, I may ask you to, let me check here. He's not back yet. Go ahead and make your point before, we...
Thank you, Jongkor. Thank you for inviting me. And thanks to the viewers as well. I was a little bit annoyed, and you can...
Go ahead. It looked like your network disrupted as well. And send in another one. Be able to bring you back. Malaysia Jama, we are really sorry for inconvenience. I don't know what's happening. So let me call you from in here, Apu, and then hopefully it will work for you. Go ahead and answer that. Okay, it looked like somebody disrupted you. Go ahead.
I'm back now, sorry. I apologize. We're growing up to be individuals that want to bring new ideas and new concepts and change to our country. And so with individuals like Dr. Hakim, we're looking up to them to be our mentors, to be people that would want to, accept change and move forward. However, every time you ask Dr. Hakim, he was not really answering the questions. He's taking us back. He mentioned two things that I took from him, and if he's a politician or if he belongs to any political group, he has lost my vote and I do not support him. He said that this peace was signed between Nuer and the Dinka. Well, point of correction, that's not true. And we all know that is not true. Simply just because Kir is a Dinka and Dr. Rak is a Nuer does not imply that these two men represent all of us. Because not all Dinka and Nuer support their ideologies, and we're all aware of that. Another thing he said too was that the Dinka people keep on saying that they were born to rule. That people need to be very careful about this phrase, because this phrase did not come from every Dinka person. This phrase came from an individual. And it didn't even come from Barakazal. That's what people need to understand. It came from one person, within a Dinka tribe, but he was not implying it to represent every single Dinka. So people need to be careful when you're a politician. When you come here to address all of us, we are looking forward to you to come up with something fresh, something that will move us forward as a country. Dr. Hakim kept on talking about the concept of federalism. I was so keen. I wanted to know how he was going to, apply this concept, because he kept on talking about 3 regions, and that was Barakazal, Upper Nile, and Equatoria. And if you look at the way these regions are divided, it's not going to bring solutions. And people need to just move forward from these olden days mentalities. Like, who cares about what the British said? Who cares about what the Arabs put in place? We are a new country right now. We need to come up with fresh ideas that we know will definitely work.
Apuk, I'm sorry to disrupt you. Dr. Hakim is back. Let me bring him. Please, stick around. Your point will be heard. And I think Dr. Hakim has heard you as well. So I'm going to excuse you and then bring him back to finish his thoughts. And then after that,
I am more than happy to complete. Yes, please. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, no problem. Okay, let me go ahead and bring back Dr. Hakim here. And I see he's here. So I'm sorry for the network that disrupted him and wouldn't allow him to finish. So Dr. Hakim, good to see you.
Yeah, thank you.
Alhamdulillah. So now.
Yeah, I was listening to the lady. She made very interesting comments, and I will be happy to respond to her.
Despite that, it's night, it's early morning, like at 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. in Australia. People actually are watching us. Big numbers in Australia. South Sudanese are watching us, which is a good thing. So I will let you finish, your thought. And actually, big question was raised here that you brought the 3 region thing. but you did not apply the methodology, how, it's going to imply.
Right.
So I want you to continue before I
Yeah.
open floor to, to other contributors
Yeah.
here. Go ahead.
If I may just take the opportunity to respond to the lady who was just speaking about blanket categorization or classification of Dinka, born to rule, and all of that. I did not say that. What I said is that there were politicians in South Sudan. Some of you were not perhaps even born, and I cited Abel Alier. It was his regime
Is
which was
Abel
promoting tribalism.
Alier particularly say that Dinka, we born to rule? Is he said that?
He didn't say that himself, but the people, those who came from Bor and those who were surrounding his political, who were supporting his political as a leader, were telling us. I was at junior school at that time. I remember a friend of mine called Mobruk Michael, and we were in the same class together, second year, junior school. Yeah, and he was telling me that we are born to rule you. You see, and he was a Dinka. He's a Dinka, but I cannot generalize it to all the Dinka. But at the time, tribalism took that politicians
Hopefully
who
it's
were
gonna
calling
work.
for unity of South
Go ahead.
Sudan, were not giving a model of how South Sudan should, stick together. And people got fed up and said, look, after all, I think it's best that we divide the country into 3 administrative units based on our 3 former provinces of South Sudan so that we can govern ourselves. You govern yourselves in your area, we govern ourselves in our area, and so on, so that we avoid this issue of friction based on tribalism. For instance, there was more or less issue of monopolization of scholarships for particular ethnic groups those days, and so on and so forth. So it brought the issue of tribalism. And people like Bona Malwal, for instance, I can cite one example, called for greater Dinka unity. He was not talking about greater South Sudanese unity. He was talking about greater Dinka unity at that time. And he was a strong supporter of Abel Alier, and he was in his camp, right? That precipitated the divisions that resulted in what people generally know as Kokora, right, or redivision. But it was an administrative measure to create 3 different administrative units and to decentralize power.
Now,
okay? So it has got nothing wrong to do with, classifying all Dinkas as saying that they are born to rule. No, I agree with her. It's not that everybody supports that. And then the other issue is that the agreement, which was signed as a Dinka-Nuer agreement. What I said is that if you look at the people who signed the agreement, right? For instance, there's a picture which was, widely circulated. Salva Kiir in the middle, Mayan on the right-hand side, and then you have Riek Machar, you have Dengalor, and then you have Changson, right?
Lamakor.
So Lamakor did not even appear there, in the picture. It was Changson, Riek, and then Dengalor, and then President Kiir, and then Mayan were holding their hands up. Even Mayan was not holding his hand up.
But don't you think, Dr. Hakim, they are representing their political organization rather than trying?
They do. But also it's very important symbolically to project an image in the country that this peace agreement is inclusive. But it wasn't doing that. It wasn't doing that. And it plays to the prejudices that we have in the country, right? So in the end, I was just basically saying this is symbolically important. Not that every Nuer, every Dinka agrees with it. No. The younger generation, for instance, do not support or agree in this. Some of you grow up in the US, in Australia, and so on. You are exposed to a different culture altogether. You're exposed to the concepts of human rights, freedom of expression, and I don't think any one of you if you were to be in South Sudan today, you would deny that right to any other South Sudanese. Because that's how you were brought up. You will not be driven by selfish interest. You see, so I'm just highlighting this, that these are the issues that precipitate conflict in South Sudan. We've got to address these issues in a very radical way.
Thank you. Now,
so that's,
Dr. Hakim, we have almost, to finish, to conclude here. My generation, maybe a book generation, and your generation are different. But don't you think when we go back and bring this issue of Bond rule, of Dinka domination and all this thing, it will have impact on our generation? Because what we're trying to do, we try to build the sense of unity. I disagree with Kir totally. But actually bringing this thing, do you think that's gonna help us coming together in the future?
Because this is what is driving politics at the moment. So you can't change politics at the moment, because that's the way how politics is run in South Sudan. What is the relevance of the Jain Council of Elders in Salva Kiir's government? Yeah, if you ask that question and then you go back historically and say, does this have connection with the failure of leadership in 1972 after the Addis Ababa agreement as well? Is that a pattern? You see, and many people have written about the Jain Council
of Elders. So did they have Jain Council of Elders in 70s as well?
No, they didn't have, but there was this political ethos of Abel Alier promoting, together with Bona Malwal, promoting Dinka unity. And they were also not taking action against the rampant corruption that was taking place at the time. You see, so this is a link. If you have an objective mind, you would be able to look.
I'm sorry, it looked like another call came in for Dr. Hakim. I don't know why people are bothering him. They need to let him finish so we can wrap it up. So, Dr. Hakim, please send it in back so we can wrap it up. Just 2 more questions and then we're ready to go. And then I will open it to contributors, South Sudanese, to weigh in their perspective. Go ahead and send it in, Dr. Hakim. We're almost there. I wish you do the do not disturb thing and on your phone, and then people will not be able to call you. It's not there, so let me go ahead and do this. Please send it in to Dr. Hakim. I apologize, ya Jama. We're really somebody bothering Dr. Hakim. Okay, I'm calling you right now from other way. Sorry, somebody's bothering you so bad.
Yeah, I don't know why. They should just, give us a chance to continue uninterrupted.
Go ahead. Go ahead and finish.
Yeah. I think I was just really basically saying, I only brought these issues to highlight the fact that these are the issues that drive politics in South Sudan today. It's tribally based. Otherwise, there should have been no need for SPLM to bring a Jain Council of Elders into the situation. And we know that there's a lot of corruption going on in South Sudan, and they're using tribalism. They're using tribalism to stay in power. That is what you should reject. That's what I should reject. That's what we should reject in order to bring a new change to South Sudan. And if we have the same views, the same principles, then what is it that is stopping us from working together to undo this system and replace it? And that's really what I'm proposing. That's what I'm saying. But that doesn't mean that we should not know what is happening on the ground. There is, as some of you would probably say, you have to understand what the as-is is. What is the current situation, right? What are the challenges? Define those challenges, have a good understanding and appreciation of those challenges, what they are, and then have a vision for the future. It doesn't mean that you should have to be constrained by the current situation in our country. You have to come up with a vision for the country going forward, and then see where the action needs to take place. What is it? What are the strategies that you need to deploy in order to bring change? And that is what I'm proposing. That's what I have been advocating.
Thank you for that question. Thank you for that answering.
Yeah, thank you.
Now, speaking about the vision, what needs to take place. Now, we are sons and daughters of South Sudan. We are brothers. Actually, we are not just, collection of people with dots in our head or mark in our head or on the side. We are people of South Sudan. We have common purpose. There is a lot of things that, bring us together. So now, in this immediate time of need, what we need to do as a leader of PDM, without any, being far away, what do we need to do to rescue this country? What do we need to do? It is very, very immediate, and it is necessarily for the daughters and sons of the country to act now. What can you do now?
One, people should organize.
Go ahead. Okay. Apologize. I'm going to have to call him back. I think somebody keep calling him. This is really annoying. But what I need to do, we have to live with it. Okay, I'm calling you right now, Dr. Hakim. Go ahead and answer. Go ahead and answer that, Dr. Hakim. It's adding up. معليش يا جماعة اعذرونا. Let me bring in a little bit of music here so we can go on. All right, calling you back. Dr. Hakim, go ahead and answer. So Dr. Hakim, I'm calling you. Please go ahead and answer that. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and call you back. Calling you right now, Dr. Hakim. Go ahead and answer that. It's adding up. It looks like maybe the network is not giving. Okay, let me do this. How about calling you from here so you can finish your thought? Let me go ahead and do that. Or I will do a WhatsApp so he can finish up before, instead of, Hello. Somebody call you again?
No, it just froze on its own.
It froze. So I'm gonna put you on the speaker here on WhatsApp. Go ahead and finish your thought.
Yeah.
I think it would be a good idea because we have been suffering, for quite a bit. So go ahead and finish your thought.
Yeah.
I hope you guys are hearing me very well. Go ahead.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Okay. Well, I was talking about the future, the vision, and how we go from here. We have understood to some extent the current situation, the challenges that we face, and we need to have a strategy, a vision and a strategy for the future. So what we need to do is to organize the people, organize the diaspora, and that's very, very important. The diaspora has got a huge power, a huge potential to bring a positive change for the future of South Sudan, because they have the cultural mindset and capacity to absorb the ideas of change. And so organization has to start in the diaspora. People can organize and mobilize resources in order to bring change in South Sudan. We can go into the details of how we can do that. But what's important is to get organized. And once you're organized, you'll be able to channel your capabilities. And I know that there is a huge potential in diaspora. There's a high level of education. There's a lot of professional experience. People are working in industry, in private institutions, in government, and so on. All of this is cultivation and investment in the future of South Sudan. For those who want to make an impact, positive impact, let's make a difference to our people. Let's make a difference to the country, right? We need to build that on the basis of human rights, social, cultural, political rights, freedom of expression, and so on. All the raft of human rights and women's rights, people's rights. That is what should drive the new generation of South Sudanese in order to extricate themselves and extricate the country from the tyranny of the SPLM, SPLA. They have done a good job fighting the wars and everything, but they've become too much used to the war, to the extent that they're using a war to stay in power. And they're using agreements to stay in power without going to the people. We want to move away from that. Let's organize the diaspora, put the capabilities together, and then try to bring the change in South Sudan. It belongs to you. You can cast it in the image that you want, but define it in the context of human rights. That each and every South Sudanese should live under the rule of law. Each and every South Sudanese should enjoy to the fullest extent possible economic, social, cultural, and political rights. These are fundamental human rights. These are the foundations on which PDM wants to build the future of South Sudan. And I think if you were to support me and to support ourselves, I will give you an example. This platform that you're using, the internet platform that you're using, is a very, very powerful tool. But do you know what drives it? It is sometimes described as a tool for democratization of information, democratization of knowledge, the ability to communicate and to talk without being censored. It's a big, huge network of computers globally that work together in order to create this powerful platform that you are now able to use, so that people can talk to you from Australia, from America, from anywhere, without boundaries. What we need to do, you, the people of South Sudan in diaspora, be like that network like the internet, machines that drive and bring power of the internet to the globe. You and each one of you can mesh together, create a huge network that can become a power of itself, a power for good, not for evil, not for corruption, but a power for human rights, a power for the vision of the country that you want to build, for the future of your generation. Why do you wait and you want your children to come and fight wars again? We don't want wars. Some of us have lived through 2 wars. Why should we continue to live through wars? It should be only the power of reason, the power of human rights, justice, the rule of law. Those are the fundamental building blocks of taking South Sudan forward and to catch with the rest of the world. That is what should drive the vision of each and every individual South Sudanese in diaspora. And those that hope would get inspiration and motivation from.
Well, go ahead.
Can join us in this, and that is it. It's for the people. Put the people first. People always come first. Nothing else. People come first in decision-making process, in providing authority to government, in giving legitimacy to government, and so on. That is the new culture that we want to go forward with in the newest, in the current session. Yeah, we're not going backwards. That's what we start for in PDM. Thank you.
Well, Dr. Hakim Dario, it was good having you here on Concerned Citizen of South Sudan to speak to our people and ask some questions, interact with us. So thank you so much. You know, anything else you wanted to add before I let you go, sir?
Yeah, what I really want out of this is that there should be some consequences in terms of how you can look at what is the most positive and practical aspect you can play in your own capacity as an individual. And as a diaspora, the South Sudanese diaspora. Do you want to make a difference to the country? Bring your ideas forward. Let's work together, collaborate, and change South Sudan. And I think this is very, very important. That's the message that I want to share with each and every individual who is listening. That, the country is within our grasp. Just make a decision to start with human rights, the enjoyment of freedom, human rights, social, cultural, and political rights by each and every individual in South Sudan. I've lived that to some extent in terms of what I've been trying to do. Like I said in my brief, right? I work very hard with other colleagues to promote freedom of expression and democratic transformation in South Sudan. And we brought media legislation to the table. They were passed in parliament after more than 10 years. But there are vested interests who do not want to see freedom of expression in South Sudan. And on top of them is Michael Magui, Salva Kiir, and the Jain Council of Elders. These are the people who stand in the way of transformation of South Sudan. I've seen it, I've experienced it, I've interacted with them, and I know them. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us. That's Jama. Well, Dr. Hakim Dario, the leader of PDM, People Democratic Movement. It was actually joining us from Germany, Frankfurt, Germany. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful night, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right. Okay, now, viewers, concerned citizen of South Sudan, let's go ahead and send in a request, and then I can have your contribution here. So, into Simitu, Davidana, spoken. We asked some questions. So now it's your turn. So since, I think Apuk, you need to send in since you started, and then I'll bring Suleiman as well. So you finish your thought, and then we'll move on from here. So, here we go. I'm calling you right now.
Yes, Jongkor,
All right, Apuk. Good to see you back.
Thank you for bringing me back. I'm very pleased. Thank you very much. I think I'll just probably go straight to the point where I left it. Yes, Dr. Hakim. Yes, Mama Bangan, just give me a second. Dr. Hakim kept on talking about the concept of federalism based on 3 regions, and what I wanted to know was how is it exactly is this concept going to be implemented politically? Because if we want to run a country based on tribes, I think we're going to have a lot of problems. Now, look, I do like the concept of federalism. I like the idea that power is actually distributed. It's not concentrated in one hand. Entirely, I am for it. But the way that it is going to be applied is where we have to be very careful. Otherwise, it's going to not work. Because if you're going to have Barakazal, Equatoria, and the Upper Nile, if you look at the way we're putting it, I think it's going to end up, we're going to end up with a country where, you know, minorities will always be disadvantaged and majority will always have to win. And we don't want that, as I said before. So we need to come up with new systems. We need to come up with fresh ideas. And if we want to use this idea of federalism, I think we need to have more states. Reason being is the more we have more states, the more the power is going to be distributed even more. So for our brothers, Equatorian brothers specifically, there's one guy here before, I'm not going to mention names because I don't do that. He kept on saying things like, oh, Equatorians are for 100%, you know, federalism. Barakazal, they don't want that. Nuera 60%. Look, I think everyone is happy where they are, but no one would really be so keen to stay in other people's state because we all have our own lands. That's just reality. But when we're looking at it from a political level, I think it's not going to work. And this concept of federalism need to be revised. So if you're going to go with three regions, then it's not going to work. Another thing too, that I wanted him to put more emphasis on, because sometimes when you bring up an idea, you need to go in depth and explain it to people, convince us. Why do you want Equatoria to have their own region? Why do you want Barakazal to have their own region? Why do you want the Upper Nile? And him being a politician, I was so keen. I wanted to hear it from him, but he didn't. He just branched off and he jumped from one thing to another thing to another thing. Like he was not really organized in his thought. I thought, so maybe next time you should probably try to request for him to come back a bit more prepared so that he can present us with facts, so that he can present us with things that would move the country forward. We want solutions. And as you can see, even Suzanne Jambo, she picked up on it. You know, all of us picked up. We just said, well, this guy is very, very tribalistic. I mean, he's a tribalist. And if he's a tribalist, these are not leaders that we want in South Sudan. We want leaders that will neutralize this mindset.
Why do you think
of a country?
Tribalistic? Because he called for 3 regions, or what it is?
No, not because he called for 3 regions alone. He said so many things that made me come to conclusion that he is a tribalistic individual. Normally, I am not the type that is so quick to jump, but what he was doing was he was trying to blame certain tribes of South Sudan for the problem of the country. He was not really talking about solutions. He was not talking about ways to move forward. Now, when you invited Suzanne Jambo last time, Suzanne came and she talked about ideas that she had in place. She had opinions. She had facts that she thought, if we do this, we might move forward as a country. Dr. Hakim, as a political leader, failed to do that. He came in and he generalized the entire Dinka, he generalized the entire Nuer for the problem of South Sudan. That was what he did. And him being a political leader, I thought, well, if your party is like that, me being a Dinka, why should I support you? Because your party is going to disadvantage me. Your party is going to see me as a part of Gen Council of Elders. I don't know how many times he mentioned Gen Council of Elders, and he did not imply, why is he using this word? So our brothers, our Equatorian brothers, need to be mindful about this concept of always victimizing themselves, you know, and trying to hide behind everything. We have to be realistic. So if Dr. Hakim really, really want to come back again, I would urge for him to come back more organized, because I want him to talk like a leader. I want him to talk like someone that could be a mentor to me as a young Dinka girl. I want him to be a mentor to a young Equatorian girl out there, a mentor to a young Nuer girl. He needs to come forward as someone that is for unity, someone that wants peace, someone that wants fresh ideas and ways that we can live in harmony as South Sudanese. That is the sort of a leader that I want. I see that a lot in Suzanne Jambo. When she comes out, you rarely hear her speak against a certain tribe. She blames the SPLM, and this is what we always do. All of us, when we come out here, we talk about ways to move forward. We don't blame individuals, we don't blame tribes. We just say, look, there's mismanagement in the country. We have people that are corrupt, that are not moving the country forward. And so what can we do to move forward? We need ideas. That's what we need. So Dr. Hakim, as a political leader, I'm not attacking him as an individual. So if he's going to take it personal, I apologize. But as a political leader, he needs to either pick the representative to come back and apologize to the people of South Sudan because of things that he has said, or he needs to come back and talk about real issues. How can we move forward as a country? Now, that is the sort of a leader that I want, a leader that is realistic, a leader that has fresh mind, fresh ideas, and a leader that is willing, you know, to let go of the past and come up with ways that we can live in harmony as a country. So if we want federalism, because we want Barkazal to be by itself, we want Upper Nile to be by itself, and we want Equatoria to be by itself, and then there's no point of having government. We don't need a government then, because we can all manage ourselves just the way we used to. But if we have a country to run, we have to be very, very mindful, because we have to put a system in place that will allow for minorities or minority tribe in the country to also run for politics. So to me, I have ideas that I know for a fact if we were to apply those ideas, they would highly likely work. And that is, in the nearest future, if we were to, you know, establish this, just put away this war and move forward, we need to ensure that we have political parties that are not dominated by one tribe. If a political party does not have 90% representative of different tribes of South Sudan, and then that political party is not legitimate. We want political parties that will be definitely a representative of all tribes of South Sudan. We are lacking that right now. Every political party that we have is tribal based. It's dominated by the Dinka, dominated by the Nuer, or dominated by the Equatorians. So how is that a legitimate party when you are there, you know, for your own interest? For the interests of the Equatorians, for the interests of the Dinka and the interests of the Nuer. We don't want that. We want people that will work based on the interests of South Sudanese. So let's just wait for this peace to go. Let's wait for it to come. Let's wait for these politicians to calm down and finally realize that we need people that will put a system in place. You live in America, I live in Australia. The reason why federalism works is because they don't live in tribes. They live based on political ideologies. I vote for you, Jongkor, not because you're a Dinka. I vote for you because your policies will help me. You'll build schools for me. You'll build healthcare. You'll build, you know, hospitals. I vote for you not because you're an Equatorian. So really, this old mindset of people coming out here saying, oh, Dinka people say ABCD of born to rule, that is non-logical, and it is not true, because there was one person that said it. And that one person didn't even direct it at all South Sudanese. He directed it at Barakazal people. And it was a Dinka person that said it, yes, but he was not saying it to all South Sudanese. So for him to come out here as a doctor and to mention that Dinka people keep on saying that they are born to rule, I was like, whoa, wait a minute. Should I continue listening to this individual because he's very tribalistic? Of course no. And he should know better because he has a title. He's a doctor. So let's stop using phrases that will cause more division in the country. We need to avoid that because we are creating further and further division. And maybe he should go back, revise, watch this video again, and he will see that everything that he said was nothing. He did not talk about anything that will move us forward, nothing. So please, if you can request for Dr. Hakim to come back next week and talk about the real issues of South Sudan, I would be more than happy to do that. So please, thank you. I'll let you go now.
Thank you, Apuk, for your perspective. Let me move ahead here and call this. I need to wanted to make their perspective heard as well. Jama, I want to remind you, we always, agree to disagree. So nothing wrong with that. We agree to disagree. If someone made their perspective, different, I made it clear here, we don't insult. And I will not accept somebody insult. Apuk was not insulting, of course. She has different perspective from Dr. Hakim Dario. And I think that's not a tarnishing. We should not use the word tarnishing, Sister Teresa. Having different perspective is okay. Even the President of the United States 2 days ago, 5 days ago, You know, he suspended the press, you know, the badge of, you know, the CNN journalists. But today the judge rules actually against the president. So that Jim Acosta is still going to go back, you know, to White House and report the news. So please, ya Jamal, let us get it all, you know. It doesn't matter. I am here. I'm not a government supporter. People, you know, keep saying things, you know, against me. He's an agent of JCE, but I am not, and I will never become an agent of JCE. Let us be mindful when we are making a statement, you know. We welcome them, the leaders, and yes, citizens, they have a say. If a citizen that says, I disagree with you, what you said actually is divisive, it doesn't mean that we are tarnishing them. So let's go ahead, Jamal, send in your request, and I can bring you in. Let me check here, who's else here? Suleiman, it looked like you requested. I'm going to go ahead and bring you. Suleiman Dandara, I'm sending you a request right now. Go ahead and answer that. I hope you are in a place that has a better connection. Suleiman Dandara. Let me know if you are not ready, so I can bring somebody. I saw a lot of friends there. So Suleiman, it looks like the net is not working for you. Let me go ahead and check what's going on. I see Dr. Hakim sending in another request. He might need to answer, you know, what Apuka said. So let me bring him back, and we move on. And Suleiman, while you know I'm bringing Dr. Hakim back, please prepare. Get ready. I'm calling you right now, Dr. Hakim. Go ahead and answer that. Or if that's an error, you can go ahead, you know, and disregard that. Because I saw there was a request. It might have been on error. So let me go ahead and do this. Suleiman, send the request, please. Hit the green button. Hit the green button. Okay, it looks like that's not an error. Brother Adam, it's not getting angry. It's just, you know, I don't want to generalize anyone. I would not, if I have any problem with someone from Lokoya, I will not say, oh, Lokoya, you know, I will not do that. I will just deal with that person. If I have 3 or 4 from Lokoya, I will deal with them. And instead of, you know, saying, oh, Lokoya are not good, I would not do that, of course. So I think that's where, you know, people sometimes object and they said, why are you generalizing? Why are you saying that? It's not because every Dinka get angry. No, you know, I don't get angry. You know, if someone tried to criticize the tribe or tried to criticize individual. But what I try to do, I try to remind them, let us not generalize. That's what I do all the time. But I'm not the spokesperson of the Dinka. I will not be angry, you know. So, let me go ahead and do this. Suleiman, network.
Yes.
I'm out of a network. Zahir my channel, please. So, go ahead, brother.
أنا ما هاخذ وقتك وبالمناسبة أنا مبسوط الليلة جدا جونكور. أنت اسمع، أنت ما قاعدين يتهموك بس أنت زول حكومة. أنا سليمان يوم ده أنا بقول أنت زول ناس زول أنا بقول
دائما. هسه في واحد لا زي جواب كبير لو وديتك أنت بتسافر بقول ديفز he's a secret agent of JC. دائما كلام ده بقوله لي لكن I don't worry about it because I know.
اسمع وفي ناس ثانيين بيقولوا انت زول بتاع الناس وفي ناس ثانيين بيقولوا انت زول بتاع جتين.
ناس قاعدين يقولوا لي زول بتاع الناس always ناس بيقول لي يا اخي جونكور ده بتاع الناس وفي ناس بيقولوا جونكور ده بتاع جيتان بس ايو ما قاعد يقول انا بتاع ايو بيقول انا بتاع الناس
لكن
بيقولوا جيتان بيقول انا زول بتاع هنا بتاع JCE always they said I don't know why it's up to them they can say whatever they wanted to say is all right go ahead
يا اخي تحيه كبيره لك الليله. انا مبسوط لانه انا ما حصل شفت دكتور حكيم داريوس، ما حصل شفته الغريبه، ما حصل شفته كله ما سمعته. فده كويس. بالمناسبه ده كويس حتى الجنوبيين ذاته يعرفوا بعض ويعرفوا الحاصل شنو. فانا اول حاجه انا بقيت زول سلام ما حاجه ما كلامه قالوا لانه ما حيخصني كثير في حاجه، ما محتاج ادافع عن حاجه وما محتاج اقول كلام بطال. اول حاجه انا ببدا دار نطمن الناس اللي قاعدين. في تقدم كبير يا جنكور في المساله بتاعت السلام. بالذات ناسنا في واو. انا داير اطمن ناسنا في واو انه في بساليه الليله عقدوا الجيش بتاعنا بتاعه عقد اجتماع ناجح جدا بمحافظ بتاع بساليه بقياده بتاع القائد جمعه شارلس وحسن كلاوديو. ففي اليومين الجاي احتمال يكون في احتفال كبير في واو ويكون اخونا القائد بتاع المنطقه كير هيقابل مع القائد اشعب خميس في الايام القريبه. فده تقدم كبير في السلام. احنا هسه دايرين نركز في السلام.
What about الناس اللي قاعدين في يونمز كام في واو؟
ما السلام ده بيجي واحده هم لو ما شافوا السلام على ارض الواقع، لو ما شافوا المتمردين دول ذاته جو رجعوا، لو ما شافوا السلاح اللي موجود جو جرينتي ما في زول بطلع لانه لسه الناس خايفين. يعني هسه في ناس ذاته كان قال لهم امشوا من برا هنا عشان يمشوا واو ذاته بخاف. فالسلام ده ما زي اكل قاعدين يشدوه لابد ينجز اول. هسه هو في النار يا جنكر. السلام في النار قاعدين نلز له خشب، قاعدين نلز خشب عشان ينجز. يعني انا ما بقول انه خلاص سلام حصل 100 ده ما كلام كده. انا قلت انه مواسيد خديناه في نار وقاعدين نلز نار في تحته، لكن بصوته في ايام الجايه يعني بمشي شويه شويه.
نعم.
الشيء المهم يا جنكر. انا بحيي كمان اختنا سوزان جامبو موجوده، كاميرا سوزان تحيه لك كبير.
وناس جي 1 معانا هنا they are watching which is okay.
يا الحاجه اللي انا داير اقوله حكيم داريوس ظلم الايو ده ظلم. لما تقول الايو ده بتاع نوير انت قاعد تظلم وانت قاعد في المعارضه ما تظلمنا كمان. ما جوا الايو ده نحن اسود غرب بارغزال قاعدين جوا، وفي اقول لك بتاع جونسون ولين قاعد جوا. فلما تيجي تشمل بس تقول الايو ده بس بتاع وفي ايكواتوريانز قاعدين فوق، في زاندي قاعدين فوق، الايرو بويز قاعدين فوق. فلما تيجي تقول الايو ده بس بتاع نوير انت قاعد تقلل من قيمتنا نحن. ما مشكله نوير بيكون مبسوط لانه ايو بتاعه ما مشكله. طيب وات اباوت اس نحن في تحت غياب بتاعه ما انت قاعد تقلل من قيمتنا. تفكيره يا جنكر لما اي جنوبي تقول له 3 ريجونز راسه طوالي بمشي اتجاه واحد. انا هسه سليمان لما نزول يقول لي اقاليم 3 راسي بمشي اتجاه واحد، وده الفكره الموجود. يبقى ان احنا يمكن انا كنت في الايام اللي فاتت مشغول
honestly سليمان انا بحب 10 ستيت.
انا زيك
ما بحب 28 ما بحب 32. 10 ستيت I am okay with it but 3 region it reminds us dark days. I don't want it.
بالضبط معروف ده.
The way I feel. This is the way I feel. This is the way I feel. I like 10 state. لأن 10 state بكلنا نعمل interact together. لكن I don't want the old days عشان الناس يقولوا oh we are just from that area ودول from those area. We want to build sense of unity. We want to be together. يا جماعة هنا we are the same people. We are the same people. ما في زول ندو ضنب ولا في زول ندو ينايد قرون. We are the same people. People need to understand. Go ahead.
بمناسبة اسمع يا جنكر نكون honest معك. التري ستيت ده واضح موضوع ما دار نقاش. حتى لو يجملوه يعملوا له شفت بوكيا ويعملوا له احمر شفايف ويلبسوه فستان زفاف برضه لسه هو معروف ده شنو اصلا معروف ده شنو. فما نحتاج كلام كثير فيه. انا داير اتكلم فيه حاجات مهمه بس عشان ما نشيل وقت. انا متاكد الجنوبيين هيجي يتكلموا كثير في المواضيع الباقيه دي. الحاجه المهمه اللي احنا دايرين نتكلم فيه يا جنكر. انا كنت في الايام اللي فاتت مهموم جدا فارق الزمن بيننا وفي استراليا وفي السودان عشان نقعد نتكلم مع دكتور ياغ. انا بقعد ليه 2 و3 صباحا عشان نلقاه يقوم من النوم صباح عشان نتكلم معه في موضوع بتاعت الناس كيف انه الناس ينظموا عشان يعملوا لقاء مع بقيه المعارضات الثانيين عشان يقدروا يتفاوضوا معهم. ده كان همي الاول وهم بتاع الايو كله، انه يكون في حاجه زي ده. لكن الليله انا هنوم مرتاح، تصدق ما اقوم ثاني الساعه 3 ولا الساعه 4 ولا يعني، لانه انا اقتنعت قناعه تامه بعد انا استمعت لحكيم داريوس. ما حنقدر نقنعه الموضوع اللي هو قاعد يقوله ده. ما بنقدر نخط في اتفاقيه. يعني اذا هو بيقول انه هو شايف لما قال اقصد شاف سلفاكير وشاف رياض مشار وشاف دينالور، ما ده الغالب التاريخيين بتاع الحركه الشعبيه. ده ما عنصريه، ده ما تلموا عشان عنصريه، ده اللي تلموا لانه ده الغالب التاريخيين، وده معارضين زيه. يعني ما في زول جا من برا ساكت جد خش جوا هناك. يعني هو لو كان وقع السلام برضه حيكون موجود، فعدم قيامه بياكد الموضوع فيقبل، وهو عنده اجنده ثانيه وهو بيعرفه. واذا هو قاعد يتكلم في الموضوع ده يعني احنا ما حنقدر ننجح معه طبعا، ما حنقدر نقنعه عشان. وبعدين من مصلحتنا ذاته، من مصلحتنا يكون في باقي ناس معارضين. يعني في ناس ثاني، لا الحكومه ده اصلا ما ممكن الناس كلهم يكونوا حكومه وما في معارضه. فافكار بتاعه ده بيكون كويس انه يفضل به في معارضه ويقولوا في معارضه. وبعدين انت عارف نحكي لك قصه وانا اطلع منه طوالي. في الخلا الاسد طلب ناس، قال يا ناس تعالوا كده يا الحيوانات، تعالوا دايرين نعمل اجتماع عشان ننظم الغابه. فالفيل والقرد في الصيد الثاني بتاع بحر. فالفيل القرد قال يا فيل خلينا نركب في ظهرك عشان نقطع بحر. فعلا هم ركبوا قطعوا بحر. وكنت جو في الاجتماع اي كلام بيقولوا القرد يا بيتكلم بيقول انتم ما شايفين هنا قطعنا بحر الكبير ده كيف؟ هسه هنا المفروض انتوا تدينوا فرصه عشان هنا يا فني يا اخي الايو ده شايل الجماعه ده كله في ظهرهم. لما يجوا كل زول بيجي بيقول كلام اللي ضد الايو ده ذاته، هو جاري ذاته يقول سلطه الدكتور رياض داير يشيل. يا جماعه ما نحن كنا عملنا سلام مع عمر البشير. عمر البشير شال حكومه بدبابه، ما شال حكومه ذاته بانتخابات ولا عنده اي موضوع. ما جينا، ما واحد من الشروط بتاعنا ما خديناه وقلنا يا جماعه عمر البشير ده لابد يشيلوه برا عشان نعمل اتفاقيه مع خرطوم. فخلينا نكون واقعيين. السلام ده جاي، انا بقول للدكتور حكيم السلام جاي. طبعا انت ما هتقدر تمشي جوبا زي ما قلت، لانه انت ما مقتنع بالجماعه دي. فده فرصه تقعد لحد ما نعمل سلام ونعمل انتخابات. بعدين لما نجي الرئيس منتخب انت بعد ذاك تجيب برنامجك تطرحه، لكن انت من حقك تعارض. وبعدين قالوا كويس، كلامه كويس، انا عجبني جدا. يعني مشكلته ان احنا ذاتنا المفروض ما نجوته كثير، لانه قالوا داير ننظم الدياسبرا، والدياسبرا دي القوه اللي بقدر اغير به النظام وكده. فده كلام كويس. انا يعني ما معنيين فيه، انا سليمان شخصيا ما معني، لانه انا ما زول الدياسبرا، انا راجل جنوب. فهو ينظم الدياسبرا ويجي
I'll bring
يحكم.
you Helen. Yeah.
يا
Thank you so much, Suleiman, for giving
يديك
up
العافيه،
and add your
يديك
perspective.
العافيه،
Thank you.
يديك
Please stay tuned.
العافيه.
Please كلم قادة بتاع ايو عشان يجونا هنا. We want them here, man. انا قاعد ارسلهم رسائل لكن they ignore me. You know.
لا هيجوك هيجوك
Okay.
بعد ما اسمع بعد الهجوم الثقيل ده لابد في زول واحد كبير يجي كمان عشان يقول رايه، لانه الموضوع ده بقى صعب شديد. فيعني الناس اللي بيركبوا في ظهرنا بيجوا بيطلعونا هنا اي كلام، فبحتاج زول كبير يجي.
Okay.
يديك العافيه.
Thank you. شكرا. All right, let me go ahead here and see who is next. I believe so many requests. I don't know. Teresa, where are you? Turn on the video, please. Turn on the camera. So I'll bring someone else and then I'll bring you Teresa when you are ready here. So let me bring, I think, send in your requests, ya Jamaa. Send in requests. I'm calling right now. Ana kandera jiba kasa ya Teresa. If that possible, it would be so great to send in a request. You know? But I don't see that. Okay, let me go for Joy and Y. Joy, I'm calling you right now. Oh, Joy, your camera is off. Joy, your camera is off. Can you please turn on your camera? Turn on your camera, Joy. I'm gonna try one more time. Okay, so because the camera is off, it's not accepting call.
Hello.
Okay, J-O.
Yes.
Can
Can you hear me?
You change to J-O?
Yeah.
What's going on with you? Why are you changing from Giuseppe Nyep
Well,
to J-O?
yeah,
Now
yeah.
you made me call you Joy.
So it will not be, so the name will be short.
Okay, go ahead, man. We have big list, brother. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah.
With your question.
Hold on. Yeah. Let me plug this one. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I have a power issue. So I said thank you very much, Jongkor. Sometimes I can say you causing problem, but sometimes I can say thank you. For
I'm not
letting
causing
us.
any problem. I'm not causing any problem. I'm trying to bring people, and get different perspective. That's what I do. And people take me out of context sometimes. That's fine. That's the life. That's the way people are.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah. Thank you. Anyway, I was listening from the beginning, and the speaker. I understand that you have a party, but once once you have a party, what you need people to know is what are the proposal of your party? What is the reason that your party was created, and what are you going to bring different rather than SPLM? So those are the things that we need to hear. But we are hearing stuff like Dinka and all this stuff. That is not a type of leadership that we want. And you should understand that the people of South Sudan are not happy for what he done today. We are not disagreeing that he came up with a different idea to form a party. We have a problem of misunderstanding of how he represented his own party. This is where we have a problem. And you need to know that, Mr. Speaker, Dr. Hakim, you need to know that it's not only him that have problem with the current leadership. It is many people of South Sudan are not happy with the government of South Sudan. And if we want to change the government of South Sudan, we don't need to be changing government of South Sudan by family and by tribals, by divisive. First of all, we need to bring unity to ourselves to be able to bring a good governance to our people. So that is what Dr. Hakim need to learn today. Although he have problem on his phone, he understand that people are not excited.
Oh, sorry, Giuseppe, we lost you for some reason. I don't know what you push. So let me go ahead and bring you back. Send in a request again, Joe. Send in a request so you can finish your thought. Send in a request, please. Send in a request, Joe. Unless your phone is dead.
Yes.
Yeah. Wrap it up, my brother, really quick because I have big list.
Okay. Yes.
Go ahead.
So anyway, we were cut off by the network. What I want to say is how we are going to unite our people through the political morality, and to understand what is diversity means. So that is what people need to understand. So all those guests that you invited, they need to understand that what we need this time is not something that divide us. It's something that will unite us. You see, and I really appreciate Sister Puk the way that she put it, and that's how we all actually understand it. What we need are the leaders that are going to represent the issues of their party and why they want to run. But you are not inviting people to come and try to divide people and talk about Dinka is like this, Dinka divided rule. That's a real code. Although he's trying to deny, there's no way that you can deny something that recorded. So although he was talking nice, when you mess up from the beginning, it's very hard to bring people back. But you need to work hard next time, so he can put everything in constructive and then present it to the people. I think that is the very good understanding that you need to take from his own speech. Coming to conclusion, I've seen problem with our people. When they go to studies, they come up with the degrees, PhD and what, and then they start calling themselves those titles, and then they are proud of it. His Excellency and all this stuff. So, and then they start forming parties and then they start creating their own families, members to join them in the political morality, and trying to instigate, war and other stuff. So when I look at all the parties that have been created, about 90% of the parties that are created are not safe. And even it come to my attention that I want to go back to SPLM because of what I see from people. It is not a honesty. People are not being honest. How are we going to blame leaders that destroy our country when we see people talk like this? When we come out and say that we are educated and then we talk useless thing that people don't want to hear. So that is one thing that is not only Hakim, it's almost every person that say that representing a certain party. At least Suzanne Jambo has changed, and I like the way she talked. I really appreciate her, and I respect her. I work with her. She was my leader when I used to be in SPLM National Secretariat. So I respect her. But
it appears Suzanne Jambo is gaining momentum. That's good. I see a lot of people, applaud.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So I respect her. She's very good. She's very kind and a humanitarian person. Someone who really understand the heart and the mind of people, what people need. I think that's Suzanne Jambo, and that's what we want. Maybe what you need to do is to change the name of his party. His party is like whole sentence, so you need to change something. You need to put something right, but it's good.
Why? What's wrong with? You want to change her party? That's how...
No. She need to change some names because the name sound like the full sentence. that's why. But I like her agenda. She have a very great agenda. So so one thing with those people that created parties, I think there is some mental problem with some people. And that mental problem is not something that they gain in studies. It's what they found in the crisis of our country, what is affecting us. So it is not a blame for their studies or what they went through. It is what is going on to all of us. We have the same mental issues, even myself. So, and how are we going to heal ourselves? Through divisive? No. It's through unity. So we can be united and try to bring something that will accommodate all of us to be one people, in one country. Not to say region, 3 region. There's nothing called 3 region, ya Jama. We only have South Sudan. It's only one region. And that is what I believe. Okay?
Thank you.
When we talk about 3 region, it brings tribalism into life. And that's one thing people need to understand. Even 28 states is better than the 3 region. So that is what I can say. And thank you very much. Jongkor, you are doing a great job. And if you have anything that you want to ask, finally you can ask, but I can say thank you. I really appreciate that you invited me. And Mr. Speaker Hakim, the guest, I hope next time when he come back, he probably need to come back prepared. He was unprofessional, unprepared, and unpredicted. So those are the combination of what he has presented today. And thank you.
Hey, thank you so much, Joseph Niet. You know, I got your name right this time, huh? Thank you for coming on and adding your perspective as well. Okay. You have a wonderful day.
Yes. Yeah, you too.
So let me go ahead and check my list. I think I know so many people there. Julius Kellerman. I'm calling you Julius Kellerman. I saw your request, Yanuri. I saw the request of everybody, Ajama. I'll call you. Julius Kellerman. Lily Morbe, you didn't send a request. Send your request in, my sister. And also, I hope, you know, Sister Teresa will send a request in. But I don't
Yeah, hello. Yeah,
All
hello.
right.
How are you?
Julius, how are you?
Good, good. Yeah, I'm good. Thank you for the first time actually inviting me to this
Yes, we have
program.
to have new people, you
Yeah.
know. Good.
I always watch you from the background.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I watch you from the background often, but I think you are doing good initiative.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah, sorry, I couldn't show up in the video, but next time maybe because I haven't got ready for that. Yeah, yeah, I'm from Australia, Sydney. So basically, what happened is, I think
Go ahead.
such initiative is good. The initiative of everybody coming up, especially our political parties, coming to actually giving their view, okay? And especially, for example, Hakim today, never ever, like most people know who Hakim is, and Hakim came up and presented his issue. He might have not been ready even to begin with, even to highlight, you know, like, I know maybe you invited him yesterday, but next time when he's coming, I think he need to be like one speaker already said, or even if not him, other political party coming next time, remind them to get ready, okay? But there are a lot of
what do you mean in
good
terms of
stuff
what in terms of what you need to be ready?
in terms of presenting the party, because political party is
Well,
not
I
a
asked
job.
him a question. What is the vision of PDM? So
Yes,
he spoke
you
about
did.
it.
I heard that. Yes, you did. I heard that. But my question is, sometimes it gets them, like, because sometimes you need to be ready to present yourself, you know. But like even me, when you call me now, I have only one agenda, one thing to come and speak. But what I'm trying to say now is just to appreciate. This is my appreciation for the whole thing. The first thing I want to start with is this social media, that program that you started, is a good initiative, because Hakim even echoed that we need this kind of people like you to come up a lot to influence the people who are actually not for peace in South Sudan. Okay, so such people need to come up, and so we challenge them, let them come constructively with their thoughts. So my idea is this: I always listen. One of them is music. I come from therapeutic background, so music is a good thing in terms of, I mean, like if you have a visitor coming, okay, you if you are inviting them, ask them their favorite music or some music. You know, therapeutic music is therapeutic. Sometimes what question you are going to question them, sometimes they
That's good
will
advice.
be
That's good
flexible.
advice.
They will be flexible around that. You know what I mean? And it helps in trauma, because we are all South Sudanese. We are traumatic. Someone just mentioned we have a lot of mental health issues, and music help us a lot. You know, with the political issue that we have in the country.
So you
when
mean
you diverse,
you mean if I ask
diversify,
my guest what kind of music they like, it
yeah,
might help
sometimes
them, you
you
know,
just
when I
in your own
give
way
them.
find out. Yeah, in your own way find out
Okay.
what music they like. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's good. Sometimes it calm them down, and it brings a good emotion also in terms of how they respond to things, because maybe they come with anger, you know what I mean? I don't know if it's going to work that way or not, because people are not going to be same in terms of therapy. But I think radio, social media, and all this needs to be therapeutic as well, because if we put it just like we just listen, we are, like you said, some people already say you are one of the secret agents, and you have a heart for the country. You know what I mean? It's so different, and this is what I mean. The one topic that I want to speak about, but next time I will probably come and speak more in regards to the politics down there. But other than that, thank you so much.
Thank you, Kalaman. Kalaman Julius, thank you so much, for joining us, and
no worries.
Perspective as well. Thank you. Try to have a good morning there in Australia. Let me go ahead and check who's next.